One voice just challenged the power of an entire city, and that voice is Charleston White. Mob ties? Charleston says it's not real power, just a costume. And Houston is not taking that lightly. If Jay Prince truly runs Houston, why did one man speaking out shake the whole city? Why would the mayor and gang unit call, just to silence a guest speaker? This isn't drama, it's a power war. Charleston said, "If I ever sit down with them, I'm bringing the FBI." That one line froze Houston. If mob ties is that strong, why do they only press people who look like us? Check-in rule? Trump comes to Houston and nobody stops him. So why is the rule only for rappers? Jay Prince stayed silent, but that silence felt like a message. When power is scared of the truth, phone calls reach the top of the city. If it's just a brand, why is an entire city terrified of that brand? Charleston White didn't hold back when he spoke on the Prince family in Houston. He laughed at the idea of mob ties, saying it's not real power at all, just a name people throw around to sound dangerous. According to him, Jay Prince Jr. and his circle are like characters from a movie pretending to be gangsters. Whenever Charleston chooses someone to call out, the internet pays attention. It's never just a small comment. It becomes a whole storm. This time, he went straight at Houston's most respected figures, Jay Prince Sr. and Jay Prince Jr. What started as a canceled event suddenly turned into a huge argument about who runs the streets in Houston. Charleston claimed the mayor's office and the gang unit reached out to him, telling him to ease up. But instead of backing down, he raised the stakes even higher. He said if anyone wanted to talk to him, he's bringing the police and the FBI right with him, no secret meetings, no shaking hands behind closed doors. A simple plan gone wrong turned into a conversation about real power, hidden influence, and who actually calls the shots in the city. People online started questioning just how much weight the Prince name holds. But Charleston didn't question quietly, he shouted. He stood firm on his Texas roots and said no one in Houston could scare him into silence. He told the world that no single person should control a whole city. And he refused to fear Jay Prince or any check-in rules that supposedly exist. The live comments went crazy. Some viewers called him brave for saying what others wouldn't dare say. Others thought he just loved trouble and attention. But no matter the opinion, everyone agreed on one thing: Charleston knows how to make people watch. The Prince family isn't just famous in music. They helped shape Houston's rap culture and business scene. Their name, Mob Ties, is known everywhere in the city, from nightlife to business meetings, from the streets to the studios. Respect follows them like a shadow. That's why Charleston's message hit so hard. He didn't just question their influence, he laughed at it. He said that Mob Ties is nothing more than a brand, a costume, a powerful image with no real muscle behind it. Meanwhile, the Prince family stayed completely quiet, and that silence made the city even more tense. Because when powerful people choose not to respond, everyone wonders what's coming next. One loud voice versus a quiet empire. And all of Houston is watching. Charleston White didn't just argue, he challenged the entire idea of checking in when you come to Houston. He said nobody should fear one man or one family. To him, the whole thing is more myth than reality. And when he said it, the internet instantly split. Some viewers said he was brave for speaking out loud what others only whisper. Others warned he was poking at a fire that could burn back. But Charleston wasn't just throwing jokes. He was questioning a system. He asked if the Prince family truly controls Houston or if people just act like they do. He claimed Houston is a city full of players and hustlers, not a kingdom with a single ruler. And that's when the situation went from loud to explosive. He mocked the idea of mob ties, calling it a costume that only looks powerful until real danger shows up. He compared it to a movie character, tough on camera but not so tough when life gets real. He even said that Jay Prince Sr.'s name might create fear in offices and studios, but in the real trenches, that fear doesn't go far. To Charleston, the Prince reputation is built more on stories than on truth. He said, if one person really controlled Houston, you would feel their power on every street, not just in the music world. He called Houston a player town, not a crown-wearing empire. Then things got personal. Charleston claimed the mayor's office and the gang unit reached out to him, trying to cool things down quietly. He made it sound like power moving in the shadows, no statements, just secret pressure. But instead of backing off, he challenged them to step out in the open. When some suggested he meet Jay Prince for peace, Charleston refused unless law enforcement joined him at the table. No dark rooms, no whispered deals. He turned it into a public test. Is this about real respect or just fear? His supporters believe he's finally exposing influence that everyone knows about but won't say out loud. His critics think he's creating drama to stay trending. But either way, the tension feels real, like everyone is waiting for what happens next. Then came the moment that took things even further. A kids' mentorship event, a peaceful community gathering, suddenly became part of this feud. Charleston said someone tried to remove him for safety. That one move made phones light up across the city. Rumors spread. Stories flew everywhere. And Charleston did the opposite of staying quiet. He erupted online, saying if the pressure came from the Prince camp, then this wasn't about protecting kids, it was about showing power. He refused to be pushed out. He refused to be muted. He refused to let fear win. What started as a disagreement has now turned into a loud question hanging over Houston. Who really runs the city, a name, or the people who live in it? Charleston White said the moment the phone calls started, you could imagine the event organizers trapped in the middle. He claimed Jay Prince's reputation is loud in the music industry, but out in the real world, in prisons and on the streets, that fear doesn't hit the same. Meanwhile, the room around him was filled with whispered warnings. Is now really the time to start this fight? Charleston didn't hesitate. He fired back. So now speaking to kids needs permission from the city? Since when does helping the youth require approval from someone wearing a crown? He wanted everyone to ask the real question: who's actually being protected, the children or someone's power? The youth event suddenly became the center of everything. A place meant for hope and guidance turned into a showdown about control and intimidation. He described it like a movie scene. Families arriving, kids excited to hear positive messages. Then the calls started. Real calls, not rumors. Calls warning organizers that maybe Charleston shouldn't speak. Charleston replayed those warnings online like they were stamped into his memory. He pointed to the tone of fear in a woman's voice and said, "That right there. That's what power looks like when it's scared of the truth." He said the message wasn't, "Keep kids safe." It was, "Don't let Charleston talk." And he refused to accept it. He told everyone watching, "They're trying to make it look like I'm the problem, like my words bring danger." To him, that was fake protection, fear being used as a tool to keep him quiet. He insisted the Prince name wasn't what stopped anything, it was officials in Houston trying to calm the storm. And then he said something even stronger. "That's how big I am, the city got involved." Charleston accused the Prince Circle of twisting safety into control. He pushed right back. "If this is really about the kids, why act like me speaking is a threat?" With every sentence, his voice grew calmer, but more dangerous. This wasn't a rant anymore. It felt like a challenge. Then he dropped the line that froze everyone. "If I ever sit down with Jay Prince, the FBI is sitting next to me." Right there, the energy changed. No more jokes. No halfway peace. Charleston wasn't just fighting a family name. He was fighting any system that thinks fear equals power. And now, all of Houston is watching what comes next. The whole city could feel the tension building. It was like everyone was holding their breath, waiting to see who would take the next step. Charleston jumped out front again, this time calling out the mayor's office and the gang unit by name. He said phones were buzzing, officials were talking, and people were suddenly acting nervous, all because his name was on the flyer. To him, that was proof that someone was trying to turn a positive youth event into a pressure point. Charleston said this wasn't about keeping anyone safe. It was about pulling strings. The oldest trick in the book, he said. Make the organizers scared and hope the speaker folds. But he didn't fold. He pushed even harder. Charleston told his viewers that if one phone call could shut down a mentorship event for kids and parents, then the real danger wasn't him, it was the power behind those calls. He said those hidden hands weren't protecting the community, they were trying to control it. And he got personal. He said the fear that swept through the event, the worry that something might go wrong, that's what put the kids at risk. A place that should have been calm suddenly felt tense and uneasy. He asked his audience, "How you gonna claim you're protecting the community when you're the one scaring the community?" His voice cracked, not from fear, but from anger. Charleston said no real city lets one man run the show. Not Dallas. Not Fort Worth. And definitely not Houston. Especially not someone who's only viewed as powerful in entertainment circles. He said Jay Prince might be a legend in hip-hop, but in the real trenches, in prisons and on the streets, nobody sees him as a mob boss. He said it's all image. A story. A myth. And every time someone questions that myth, people in the shadows start scrambling. Then Charleston hit them with a challenge that shut down even his loudest critics. If Houston is really a city of players, not puppets, then why does a youth event need invisible permission to happen? He wasn't done. He said kids should feel excited walking into a mentorship event, not like they're stepping into a political battle. Organizers shouldn't have to pick between helping the youth and protecting someone's ego. He called it what he believed it was, not safety. Silence. Then he dropped the bar that sent his live chat into chaos. "I'd rather burn the room down with truth than let fear run the room." Comments exploded. Some people swore he was stirring drama for attention. Others said he was finally saying what everyone else was scared to admit. But Charleston just stared into the camera, steady, loud, and fearless. He pointed right at Houston's so-called crown and said he wasn't scared of reputations or titles. And then the shift happened. He made it official. "If anybody thinks they can shut me up, they'd better try it with the lights on. No secrets. No backrooms. No quiet pressure." He threw the heat straight back toward the Prince family. And in that moment, everyone watching realized this wasn't gossip anymore. This was a showdown happening live. Charleston repeated every accusation, louder and clearer than before. Thousands watched as he turned his words into a weapon. And the question hanging over the city now is simple. Who's going to answer him? Charleston said the mayor's office called. He said the gang unit called. He said people were whispering in dark corners like something big was coming. And then he dropped the line that made everyone in Houston freeze. "If anybody wants me to sit down, I'm not coming alone. I'm bringing the FBI." No metaphors. No coded threats. Just a clear line in the sand. He mocked the idea that one man controls Houston, calling that type of fear outdated and weak. "A real city stands on truth," he shouted, "not on one name people are scared to question." Then he aimed straight at the crown. "Mob ties is just an echo, loud in stories, silent in the streets." He said that reputation might shake boardrooms and music executives, but when real pressure hits, where concrete replaces cameras, that myth doesn't cash out. To Charleston, the whole system doesn't protect justice, it protects influence. He said the calls weren't made to protect him. They were made to protect a brand. And just when the chat started exploding, Charleston went further, pulling out metal on camera. Not as a slip, but as a message. He refuses to be pushed around. His supporters said it proved he was serious. His critics said he was diving into danger headfirst. Either way, the moment changed everything. Charleston said the city's safety concerns were nothing more than pressure in disguise, a velvet glove covering a tight squeeze. Every attempt to silence him only fueled his fire. So he repeated it again, slow, clear, and cold. "If I ever sit down with the princes, the agents are sitting down too." He laughed at the comparison to real mafia legends from movies, saying mob ties is more costume than command. He called the check-in culture theater a show built on fear instead of facts. "The only people scared of my microphone," he said, "are the ones afraid their truth won't survive the sunlight." He didn't talk around names. He spoke them. He didn't hint at influence. He described it, political favors whispered quietly, calls that move mountains without signatures, doors that open without fingerprints. "That's real power," Charleston said. "It doesn't show up on camera. It just moves." And the whole city could feel it moving. Charleston White ended his stream with a question that cut deep. If Houston is really that powerful, why panic when a man with a rough past wants to speak to kids? If the city is fair, then no one's name should be so big that police shake instead of stand strong. And if this place is truly honest, then tough conversations should be welcome in the open, not kept behind closed doors. By the time he stopped talking, the internet was officially split in two. Some people said he destroyed his own credibility, turned his voice into chaos. Others said he broke the one rule nobody dares touch. He challenged the legend directly. No more debates. No more whispers. Now it felt like a showdown. Charleston mocked the famous check-in rule Houston is known for. Everybody's got a check-in? Well, guess what? I'm checking in with the police. Because even they say they're scared of Jay Prince. He claimed the mayor's office and gang unit warned him to back off. And he fired back hard. "Y'all can kiss my," and with that, the temperature in the room doubled. That's when the strangest part happened. The princes stayed silent. No Instagram posts. No interviews. No slick subliminal messages. Nothing. And that silence felt loud. To some, it was a flex real power doesn't need to respond. To others, it was a strategy. Let Charleston shout until he's out of breath. Meanwhile, social media turned into a courtroom. Is Charleston exposing a buried truth? Or is he stirring noise for attention? Then local voices joined the mix: DJs, community leaders, even retired police. They didn't cheer for Charleston, but they didn't deny the pressure that powerful names can create either. They used a phrase that said everything while saying almost nothing. That's just Houston. Those 3 words made Charleston grin. Because to him, that was the real admission. While the city waited and watched, Charleston spoke even louder. And suddenly, everyone understood. This wasn't about one argument or one live stream. This was about power. About who the city listens to. About who really runs Houston. Charleston stared into the camera with a cold calm and said, "Their silence? That's the answer." To Charleston, the prince's silence wasn't calm, it was confirmation. He pointed at the mayor's calls, the warnings from the gang unit, and the sudden panic around his name. If he was nobody, why did powerful people keep reacting like he was shaking the ground? He repeated his point again and again. If I'm irrelevant, why are the phones ringing? Why does every room get colder when I show up? Why does my voice feel so dangerous? His supporters nodded, because the louder the city denied him, the more real the pressure seemed. But the audience was split right down the middle. Half said he was finally saying what others were scared to speak. Half said he was chasing chaos for clout. Still, both sides could feel the tension rising like heat trapped under a lid. Respect, fear, ego, and history all mixing into something explosive. Charleston drew the battle lines clearly. This isn't rap beef. This is a fight for the right to tell Houston's story. On one side, a family that's held the crown for decades. On the other, a loud rebel who refuses to bow. Fans called Charleston the raw voice polite leaders never allow. Critics said he was a walking wildfire with no brakes. But everyone kept watching. Because silence from the top didn't cool the fire, it turned it volcanic. And patterns, Charleston warned, are what get people hurt. Now to be fair, none of what he said was ever confirmed by officials. Critics called his claims wild imagination. But that didn't slow him down one bit. He widened the target. He said this wasn't just a Houston story. It was an American story. Power, fame, and fear all sit at the same table, he said. Doesn't matter the city, when money and influence get cozy, rules bend. He talked about check-in culture, police hesitation, and invisible protection networks. And then he dropped one of his hardest lines yet. If a brand can make officers freeze, then the brand is bigger than the badge. That one line exploded across social media. Supporters, he's fearless. This is why we need him. Enemies, he's reckless. He's turning real tension into a ticking bomb. But what kept people watching wasn't the drama. It was how Charleston explained risk. This mic is my only shield. I'm not lowering it. To him, every safety warning wasn't fear for his life. It was fear of what he would say on camera. That's not protection, he said. That's censorship, wearing church clothes. And when Charleston flashed steel again, he called it a boundary, not a threat, a message that he wouldn't be bullied out of his own voice. Critics lost it. They said, you can't study a shaking table by slamming your fist on it. But Charleston didn't budge. Meanwhile, the princes stayed silent again. No interviews, no hints, no clapbacks. That silence became a mirror. Everyone saw something different in it. Some saw maturity, some saw dominance, some saw cold indifference. Charleston? He saw confirmation. Quiet is how powerful people talk, he said. And that's exactly why I won't shut up. By now, the split in Houston was clear. One side grew up on Rap-A-Lot Records. They saw J. Prince Sr. as a leader who brought structure to chaos. To them, Charleston mocking crowns and check-ins felt like disrespect. Legacy, they said, deserves more dignity than live-stream attacks. But the other side, they weren't asking Charleston to be polite. They were asking Houston to be honest. Questions aren't disrespect, they said. Questions are accountability. Charleston wrapped all that tension into one brutal line. If a man can be shut down just by saying the truth, then this is exactly why that truth needs to be said. And even his own supporters agreed. Look, I don't ride with everything Charleston White says. He's said some wild things, no doubt. But when he talks about J. Prince, when he talks about mob ties, the way power moves quietly, he's speaking facts. And this mob ties stuff? Yeah, that part has to stop. Because that's not real power. That's just a costume. Charleston and his supporters took the argument one step further. How can you call yourself mob if the only people you pressure are the ones who look like you? They said real toughness isn't flexing on your own community, it's standing up to people who actually hold the power. Charleston's point was sharp. Why are you only pressing rappers and promoters? Where's that same energy for the white biker gangs? Where's that pressure for the executives signing the checks? He even mentioned big industry names like Liar Cohen. I'd bet every dollar I have and every dollar I'll ever make that you would never press a guy like him. Not once. Not ever. Vegas or Chicago. You're just Houston. And that's fine. But stop acting like you wrote the code. In his view, it's not a criminal empire or a legendary underworld dynasty, it's intimidation dressed up as culture. He even joked they should change the name entirely. It ain't mob ties, it's anti-lack enforcement. Meaning, they don't protect the community from danger, they punish anyone who isn't playing along. He said the true nickname should be ALTO, Anti-Lack Terror Organization, because that's all you really enforce fear. And then he closed with the hardest line. If your power only works on your own people, then it isn't power. It's bullying with a brand. People are now asking an obvious question. If this check-in system is real power, why isn't it used on everyone? Why does the pressure only land on rappers and black entertainers? What about the other business owners who make millions in Houston? It's a fair point. Why doesn't Johnny Dang have to check in? Why doesn't Ben Baller have to check in? Why is it only us? If this is truly a mob, then the rules should apply to every group, white, Asian, Latino, Middle Eastern, everybody. And if you want to talk real power, then look at this example. What happens when major politicians come to Houston? When they hold massive rallies and make money off the city? Take Donald Trump. He sends the Texas National Guard anywhere he wants, even though those troops include people from Houston. But nobody demands he checks in. Nobody says he needs permission. Nobody forces him to respect the rules. Why not? If Mob Ties is truly running the streets, shouldn't Trump have to call for approval too? But he doesn't. He comes and goes freely. There's no pressure, no pushback, nothing. And that's when people start to notice the truth. This isn't the mafia. This isn't global power. This is pressure aimed downward, not upward. So critics created a new name. ALTO, Anti-Lack Terror Organization, because the only people getting checked are the ones who slip up. Not the wealthy. Not the well-protected. Not the people with real power. Just their own community. And that's what hurts most. The leaders we admire, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, and others who fought for community, would never support the idea of bullying your own people to look strong in front of the world. That's why so many are speaking up now. Because none of this looks like unity. None of this looks like protection. It looks like fear disguised as respect. So the final question is, if this isn't helping the community, then who is it really helping?